Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Mochen Le'Roa Online Smicha. We know that Shabbos obviously is one day a week, but the preparation for Shabbos, and this is perhaps what Shabbos is unique more than any other mitzvah. The Torah says, "V'heichinu eis asher yaviu," that there's a mitzvah of achana l'Shabbos, and all the preparations for Shabbos have to be done or should be done before Shabbos. And the Gemara tells us, and it's brought in Shulchan Aruch, that the Gedolei HaTanoim HaMaroim did it personally. They got involved with Chanas for Shabbos. And Zeu Mechvoida, this is the covet of the person, the covet of Shabbos, showing that you yourself are interested in making Shabbos beautiful, and making Shabbos feel holy and luxurious. So the preparation for Shabbos, and the Rebbe would always quote, Misha Tarach B'Erev Shabbos, Echel B'Shabbos, one who got busy preparing things Friday or before Shabbos, he would have what to eat on Shabbos. If you don't prepare before Shabbos, you don't have. So in many halachas, all the preparations for Shabbos begin much, much earlier. Throughout the week, we know there's the mitzvah Zachar Zema Shabbos L'Katchoy, and the Shir Shel Yoyim we say Yom Yom Rishon B'Shabbos. But there are specific halachas that are specifically connected with traveling. So we know traveling on the sea, Shulchan Aruch says you don't try not to do it within 3 days of Shabbos, because the first 3 days are you become very seasick. So you shouldn't get onto a boat within 3 days before Shabbos, because then your Shabbos won't be comfortable. You'll be seasick. So there's other halachas. Even if you're not traveling in a boat, if you're going by car or by foot or by plane, there are halachas about traveling close to Shabbos. Now, right away, when you think about that, you think about the possibility, who knows what's going to happen. It could be an accident in the road, it could be a delay, it could be a rainstorm, a snowstorm, whatever it is. So typically, your question always is, if I plan to get somewhere at a destination before Shabbos, if you don't take in consideration all these possibilities, you might not arrive where you're supposed to arrive. So therefore, make sure you leave early enough that you'll for sure, Be'ezer Hashem Yisbarach, get to your destination. But the Shulchan Aruch has another issue. We don't want you to come there the last minute. We don't want you just to make it there. We want you to make it there in such a way that, remember, if you come in very late and tired and you can't do anything, then how are you going to prepare for Shabbos? You still have to have things made. Shabbos, Einik Shabbos is a very big important deal, a part of Shabbos. So the Shulchan Aruch speaks about the halacha of traveling Friday in an ample time that you can make it to the place where you're going to go early enough so you should be able to cook food for Shabbos and have a nice Shabbos meal prepared. So if you leave too late, or it's a long journey, or you arrive too late, you're not going to have a good Shabbos meal. So, incidentally, it says in Svarim, I think it's brought in time in Minhagim, why is Erev Shabbos, Friday, not just called Friday Yom Shishi, it's called Erev Shabbos. Why is it called Erev Shabbos? Because Erev, besides from the typical explanation, Erev means the eve. Over here, it's not only the eve. The whole Friday we call Erev Shabbos. Erev means mixing, ta'aruvah, to mix. Friday, there's already a mix. What kind of mix? It's not only, you don't only feel in the air. A weekday, there's a mix. There's some holiness of Shabbos already. There's a lot of movement, a lot of preparation. You feel Shabbos in the air. And you really have to feel Shabbos in the air, so Shabbos should really feel like Shabbos. So Shulchan Aruch discusses. Now, I'm going to get to the bottom line, because a lot of it is dependent on back then, as the Shulchan Aruch itself says, then everybody was for his own, and if you didn't, the communications weren't so easy. So if you were going somewhere for Shabbos, the people who you hope to host you don't even know yet you're coming. They're not sure that you're coming for this exact date. So they're not necessarily cooking enough for extra guests. But today's days, Shulchan Aruch says, when most people don't cook exact, they cook enough food, and even if unexpected guests arrive, there will be food for them for Shabbos. Things have changed. This is not because of us, because of what Shulchan Aruch says. The problem, as mentioned before, we want to make sure that a person traveling on Shabbos a person traveling a Shabbos gives himself enough time that where he arrives, or when he arrives, he's able to have food prepared, make food prepared. So if that's the situation, in other words, if you're going somewhere and you're stopping off in a hotel, not a kosher hotel, you're spending Shabbos there, or you're going in the resort area, whatever, camping somewhere, whatever situation it is, but you're going to be there just with yourself, your family, your group, and you have to take care of still Shabbos. Sure, you have to make sure you leave before the time allows you to leave, and get there early enough that the food should have time to be made once you arrive. Now, if you're traveling all with ready-made food, okay, you solve their problems, and then you could arrive a little later. You need to leave yourself some time for the food to be warm, but you don't need to leave yourself all that time to make the food. That's if you're traveling with all ready-made food from where you are. Now, if you're not that situation, if you're traveling to staying by somebody, or you're going to a kosher resort for Shabbos, and they are expecting you, so they are preparing the food for you anyways. So therefore, in that situation, you could leave a little later in the day, meaning it doesn't have to be the first 4.5 hours of the day as the Shulchan Aruch suggests. You could leave. It's preferable not to come the letzte minute anyways, to come a little time before Shabbos to prepare for Shabbos, whatever is needed, but you don't have to come so early as the Shulchan Aruch suggests to be able to make food, which is much, much earlier in the day. So Kitzur, the bottom line is, if a person wants to travel on Friday, so it depends. If he's traveling alone or he's traveling with his family and he's going to a place where nobody's expecting him to make food for him, he has to arrive there early enough, and perhaps he can't even leave past 5 hours into the day, because he won't. If he's traveling far, he won't get there with ample time to make Shabbos. But if he's either bringing food with him, ready-made food, or he's told, today the communication is much better. You're going to somebody's house, they know that you're coming, so they're expecting you, so they're cooking for you. Then you could leave later than what the Shulchan Aruch doesn't allow when you're not carrying food, when you still have to make food. Some say it's still preferable not to leave past Chatzos, but definitely as long as the people know you're coming and they're making the food for you for Shabbos, then the Shabbos will be a great Shabbos, a Shabbos Einig. Then don't come in the last minute, but you don't have to come early midday.